Ok, bueno, pues bienvenidos, benvinguts, ongi etorri, welcome everybody. Bienvenidos al webinar con Opmeer Reports. Doy la palabra al presidente de Oikocredit Catalunya, que somos la organización que estábamos organizando esta sesión, este webinar, para que nos haga una introducción y una presentación. Así que adelante, Xavi.
Hola, buena tarde. ¿Se oye bien? O por la traducción, en los canales traducidos. Bé, bona tarda a tothom. Gràcies per la vostra participació en aquest webinar. Les restriccions actuals de mobilitat i de contacte no ens deixen fer una trobada presencial, que és el que fem habitualment per aquests cafès, tertúlies, seminaris amb les persones sòcies d'Oikocredit. I avui, sobretot, ens hagués agradat aplegar-nos junts, perquè tenim dos grans aniversaris per celebrar dintre de la nostra organització. Per una banda, el 2020 és el 45è any de la fundació d'Oikocredit com a cooperativa internacional, que ja va ser el 4 de novembre de 1975. Per tant, uns quants anys. I per l'altra banda, aquest any també és el 20è aniversari de l'establiment d'Oikocredit a Catalunya com a associació de suport. No volíem deixar passar aquesta data sense ni una trobada, sense res. Llavors, com a mínim hem organitzat aquest webinar, molt interessant, que ens obrirà els ulls a les fotografies i als fotògrafs que il·lustren la història i els esdeveniments d'Oikocredit en els darrers temps, arreu del món. Per tant, una dimensió també internacional de la cooperativa. Malgrat això, quedem tots i totes emplaçades a celebrar aquests aniversaris el 2021. En el moment que es pugui, en el lloc que es pugui. Gràcies per acompanyar-nos avui i torno la paraula al David.
Muy bien, gracias, Xavier. Gràcies. Res, ara simplement volia, abans de donar la paraula als Opmeer Reports, a Wim i la Pauline, volia explicar una miqueta, sobretot per aquella gent que encara no conegueu què és Oikocredit i que hagueu entrat així una miqueta més encuriosits pel tema de la fotografia que pel tema de les finances ètiques, explicar-vos molt breument el que fem per contextualitzar el seu treball. Oikocredit, com comentava el Xavier, és una cooperativa internacional de finances ètiques que bàsicament el que es dedica és a captar fons de països, entre cometes, desenvolupats del nord, Europa i Amèrica del Nord principalment, i amb aquests diners financem projectes a països en vies de desenvolupament, països del sud global, especialment en tres sectors: microfinances, agricultura sostenible i energies renovables. I això ho fem sempre amb criteris ètico-socials, buscant un impacte social i ambiental positiu a través d'aquesta activitat financera, de concedir préstecs adaptats a les necessitats d'aquestes organitzacions del sud i amb total transparència, movent-nos en el que serien els criteris de les finances ètiques. Si algú de vosaltres encara no és soci inversor i teniu un calaixet d'estalvis, a partir de 200 euros es pot invertir. Si us interessés, us emplacem a que entreu a la pàgina web oikocredit.es i allà teniu tota la informació per invertir. Llavors, nosaltres el que avui volíem realment explicar-vos és aquest impacte social, aquestes persones que hi ha darrere d'aquesta activitat financera, les que reben aquests préstecs, aquests crèdits, i a les quals, a través dels nostres estalvis, podem contribuir a canviar-los la vida cap a millor. I volíem fer-ho amb una mica d'esperit positiu, d'esperit viatger, d'esperit explorador, que és el que ens aporten en Wim i la Pauline. I, sense allargar-me més, els dono la paraula. Wim, Pauline, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, David.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto.
Well,
Yeah,
that's about it. Well, as David said, we are Pauline and Wim Opmeer, married for a very long time and working together since 2010 as Opmeer Reports. The reason why we started to do this work is that we saw so many negative stories in the press about development cooperation in the Netherlands, in the Dutch press. And of course, these stories are not untrue, but we figured there would also be positive stories to tell and show. So we wanted to fill this gap. We wanted especially to visualize the impact of sustainable development cooperation through personal stories, because we are convinced that positive personal stories will involve possible investors. And that way, well, we might be able to contribute a bit to a world in which prosperity is shared equally. Oikocredit was our first customer, and by now we have visited 184 partners or projects for Oikocredit. And besides Oikocredit, we work for another 15 customers in the Netherlands and Belgium. The offices are here, but we work in the countries you see marked in the map. And like Oikocredit, our clients usually have local partners or local offices. Yeah, that's about it, I think.
Yep. And in Africa and Latin America, we travel with our own 4x4 camper, as you can see on the picture. In Asia, that's very complicated. So there we have to use airplanes, taxis, Ubers, etc. And we don't have a traditional relationship. We live 7 days a week together, 24 hours a day. So for us, the COVID-19 restrictions are quite normal. And especially when we have some problems with the car, then Pauline is getting the tools. She gets the duct tape and the tie wraps and she's fixing the car. And in the meantime, I'm in the kitchen and prepare some meals. And I think the repairing of the car are better than preparing the meals, but okay.
Well, I agree to disagree.
Okay. But on the other hand, we have a very traditional relationship, because driving, I always drive and Pauline is the navigator. And which you can see, she promised me a fine road, and look where we ended up in a mud field, but she was also able to make this beautiful picture. So we are always proud about our travels.
In the end, it was a fine road.
At the end, it was a fine road, yeah. And work-wise, we are both shooting photos and videos, and Pauline writes and I edit the videos.
When we prepared for the Dutch webinar, which we gave a month ago or something, someone asked whether we as Europeans can tell a true story about the developing countries. Well, first of all, there's not one story to tell, but there are many stories to tell. For example, if you look at the photo on the left, on the top, you see Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, which is kind of an example of a rapidly developing city. But in the same time, in the South Africa mining community, like you see on the right, there's still very severe poverty. This wasn't a client of Oikocredit, by the way. This was a project we visited for an NGO, but just as an example. When we visited Zambia and unfortunately also other countries, we drove by lots of charcoal bags along the road. And in 10 years, it seems like the trees are disappearing even faster than they did in the beginning. And on the left downside, you see a house of an Oikocredit client who's a coffee farmer, a successful coffee farmer, but also an architect. So that's why the house is looking this good. But that's also a story you can tell.
Apart from that, we do not tell the complex story of a country or poverty reduction in general. Now, we are specialized in telling the personal stories to show the impact of Oikocredit's work. Normally, we always have local guidance. So the partners who are familiar with the end customers, they accompany us to the end customers. And we make photos and videos with the consent of the peoples. That means they sign a consent form to protect them and to reassure that the photos are only used by Oikocredit, so that they know that we don't put them on the internet, on Facebook, etc. Now only we use them for Oikocredit's marketing.
When we started in 2010, we thought we could take a lot of time visiting a project and then take photos of what happened spontaneously without directing people, telling them what to do. After 10 years, we can conclude that the reality is quite different. You can see in the photos how we work physically, but we will, in the next 15 to 20 minutes, we explain how the reality is and why it is a bit different than what we thought when we started. So, for example, if we arrive, our arrival is a special event for the people. So our idea was to just disappear in the background and take spontaneous photos. But we are really welcomed by the people. And for example, this beautiful lady, Brigida, she's the loan group president of a small loan group in Peru. She even started washing her hair when we arrived, so she would look beautiful in the photo. We have to respect that because it's not every day that they are subject of a photo report or a video report for that matter. And of course, we can understand that they want to look their best. Of course, we always try to make photos of the most natural situation, but in this case, the natural situation was the background and the fact that she's taking care of the guinea pigs. Guinea pigs are a delicacy in Peru, and it's a part of her business.
Yeah, it tastes like chicken, but it gets a long time to eat, and it's very small pieces of meat, so it's better to eat chicken.
But for them, it's a very good business. So, yeah. And the funny thing is that the head might look as the most unusual part of the wardrobe, but it's actually a daily part of the wardrobe. And you see men in Peru, in this region, and we saw many women going to the market wearing them. So, that explains a bit why she looks the way she looks.
And partners and end customers do not always understand what we are doing. When, for example, when we visited this cooperative in Guatemala, Pauline explained for 55 minutes in perfect Spanish. Yes, really, in perfect Spanish. But I'm the one who is spoiling this presentation because otherwise Pauline would do it in fluent Spanish. But
probably not.
She explained to the board of the corporation that we came to portray people and not crops. So after 2 hours of driving in a very old bus with the entire board, we arrived at this field with beautiful green beans, but we couldn't see any farmer. So to solve this problem, we did our routine, and it's the good cop and the bad cop. And at the end, you can guess who's the good cop and who is the bad cop with us.
I think they know.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think they know.
Maybe. But fortunately, after a walk of 1 hour through the mountains, in which we got lost a few times because the board didn't know the route exactly, we finally found Juan, and he is a member of the cooperative for more than 15 years. And Juan had worked in the USA, so he even spoke English. And he gave us a very good quote. He told us, the cooperative give us credit so that we can sow green beans. And without the loan, we would have to look for a job elsewhere in Guatemala. And we would not be able to have our own farm here. So at the end, we were happy with the photo results. And so was Oikocredit, because we have seen these photos many times in a lot of magazines, etc.
I don't think they use this one.
No, I don't think they use this one. This was Boris, and it was in Kyrgyzstan. And we drove, yeah, it's always 2 hours drive to the customer. And then we arrived at his place, Boris, and he was very, very friendly, but he had bought, with the loan, he had bought a plot of land, and he has planted, I think, some lettuce or something. But yeah, that was all. So we made a few photos of him smiling, and then we say goodbye and thank you. And I haven't seen any of this picture in the Oikocredit magazine, but his smile was lovely and he was very friendly.
Often we aren't the only ones who come to visit. Like with the green beans, we had the whole board of the cooperative with us. And in this case, it was a coffee cooperative in Honduras. The whole village came to see what was happening. That can be quite a challenge because we're not only making photos, even then it's sometimes difficult to keep children and everything out of the photo. But with video, it's even more difficult because to keep everybody quiet for at least 10 minutes, that's a lot to ask of them.
But sometimes it's also very handy that the neighbors are around, because when very often when we interview the end clients and ask how big is your loan, then she's looking around, and then some of the neighbors shout $50 or so.
Yeah, especially with older women, they are usually helped by the neighbors, and then they know a lot more about their loan than they know themselves. So, but it can be quite useful.
Yeah. And with us, many times things get lost in translation because we are seldom accompanied by professional translators, which is Oikocredit Spain has taken care of now, but we have to do most of the time with somebody who speaks a little bit of English. And that means for us that sometimes an end client gives an answer of 2 minutes, and our appointed translator says, it's good. Okay, and then we need them to explain that we might like to hear the entire answer. And then with a lot of hand and feet, we're getting the story. And for example, here in India, it was in Rajasthan, we visited clients of a solar pump company, and our guide spoke poor English and also with a very strong Indian accent. But with a little patience, we managed to understand. And we got to know that the solar pumped water pump is used for irrigations, and it saves a lot of money for the end clients because they don't have to buy diesel for their diesel power generator, which they used before. And the yield has improved, and they can also use the water for the household, as you can see on the picture. Yeah, our picture is always on this side, so most of the time I look at that side. In the end, we could even make this photo of the woman looking at us. She is not allowed to show her face to the older men of the community, but after explaining what we wanted, she could show her face to us. And I think she thought, no, those two, I will never see them again, so I can show her face.
No harm.
No harm.
Well, like we explained before, our idea was to take a lot of time to make a natural photo or video report. And in doing that, we could see what would happen spontaneously. We would use the best light, which is in the early morning or the end of the afternoon. And that would be ideal, but of course, the reality is, well, like we already said, we usually at least drive for 2 hours at least. But in this case, we even had to drive for 5 hours to get to Alpaca Shepherd at 5,000 meters altitude. On a very rough mountain road, so we were in a car with 4 people in the back seat. There's one hidden behind the guy with the cap, and Wim with his long legs in front, which might look like he had the best deal, but he also had to have all the equipment on his lap. So for 5 hours, that was also quite strong. The good thing about being stuck with so many people in the car was that it was nice and warm, because at 5,000 meters, it can really get very cold.
And most of the time your eyes were shut because the road was so steep and so scary. That's it. Ah! Sorry.
I'm not that. Well, then we arrive after 5 hours. And of course, we need to take into account that we have to get back as well, because there's no hotel or whatever on the mountain. So we have to get to work quickly. There's no ideal light, but we're used to that, and it's our job to work with that, and it's not the biggest problem. But we do have to earn the trust of the shepherd in a very short period of time. And then we go to get photos. So Wim uses the opportunity to have a Pilates posture and meanwhile making photos. So that way, well, we both get the good photos and keep healthy.
And I think you will agree with this. The Dutch, we are usually very direct. So when we don't have that much time, we like to get to work immediately. But that's not possible. I think in Spain it's not possible, but no, only in the Netherlands I think it's possible. But because first we need to know our host, and of course they want to receive us hospital with coffee, tea, or often even with food. But we try to speed up the process because we like to make the photos, and it takes much more time than our host think it takes. And especially when the rain clouds starts arriving and the time is ticking away, we said, oh, we need to make the photos now, because rain and cameras is not the best combination. But we need to respect their culture as well, and that's sometimes difficult. But in this case, it was in Colombia. We were able to do the video shoot before a late lunch. And as soon as we sat down, the rain started and we started to enjoy the delicious late lunch, which was served on fresh banana leaves. And it was very good, better than the guinea pigs.
So they could be hospitable and we could make the good
photos,
report.
Video.
Yep. So going from one assignment to the other, we usually return to a country after around 4 years. That's like a loop around the world we make every time. And at some point, we thought it would be nice to show the progress and visit some end clients again for the second time. The communications department of Oikocredit agreed and was very enthusiastic. But it turned out to be possible in only a few cases, because first of all, the partner and the end client need still be cooperating with Oikocredit. And then the second thing is that we need to be able to get to the client. In this case, you see Marco, a coffee farmer in Colombia. And we visited him the first time, and then when we wanted to go there again, the cooperative said, "Yeah, we're gonna go there again. It's a nice story." And then a few days before we came, it started raining, And the road became so bad that they said, we can't go to Marco, we need to go to another farmer. When we saw the road which was accessible according to them, we kind of understood that the road to Marco's farm was probably a sort of a river by now. And that makes it really impossible to return. And the third thing is that sometimes the safety has changed. So, for example, in El Salvador, we visited a tamala baker before. It's a pastry they make there. But even the loan officers couldn't go there anymore to this neighborhood because of the gangs. So we also couldn't return to her.
In Paraguay, we succeed to visit Anastasia Modesto twice. The first time it was in 2012. They had 9 children, of which 4 daughters lived at home. They grew lemon verbena. That's a herb used for tea, amongst other things. And this was their main crop, which was exported through the cooperative. And Anastasia also grew some fruit and vegetables that she sold on the organic market every Tuesday. And that was very successful, as we understood. When we returned in 2017, they had stopped growing sesame seeds and they expanded their lemon verbena production. And they had also fences now to protect their land against animals.
And here you see, what's his name again?
Modesto.
Modesto working on the land in the lemon verbena field.
And of course, in that period, the family has also expanded. So they enlarged and improved their house and they owned more cattle. So 4 years ago, they had 1 calf and now they owned 15 cows and 4 pigs. And livestock is a good way for farmers in these areas to save money. It's like a piggy bank.
Literally.
Yeah. And the first time we visited, the cooperative had started a project to build drying floors, which you can see on the photo. And oh yeah, there. The second time we visited, they were finished with all the farmers. And here you see Anastasia. She's spreading the lemon verbena on a fenced-in drying floor, which ensure that the chicken cannot enter it. So normally, before, the chickens were picking the lemon verbena, and of course there came some poo-poo with it, and that's not that hygienic. And now, because the hygiene is improved, it makes it easier for them to comply to the standards for organic certification, and the export went up after this. Yeah. And also when we left, we got a bag like this. So we had for 3 or 4 months lemon verbena in our camper, and it tasted very good. Yeah.
Another client we managed to visit twice is Jose, a tomato farmer in Ecuador. And the first time in 2013, he was a bit timid, which also might have to do with the language barrier, because he didn't speak Spanish, but his own language. And in this case, the partner translated from his language to Spanish. So the 3 gentlemen on the right in the beautiful uniform, they helped with the translation. Jose started growing tomatoes in 2009, so 4 years before we came. And he became a member of the cooperative at the same time he became a farmer. Before he did that, he transported materials and newspapers on a cargo bike, and he had some small temporary jobs. When he became a farmer, his circumstances improved greatly, and in 2013, when we visited, he already had a steady income. He used the loan of the cooperative to build a greenhouse, or even 4 greenhouses. When we visited, he owned 4 of them, and he had 15 people working there. He rented the site where the greenhouses were. He was building his own house at the time, and he dreamed of owning his own plot of land. So when we returned in 2016, that was during a study tour. So there was a whole group of people surrounding him, more than when the two of us visited. But despite that, he had much more confidence than the first time we were there. So that was really good to see, and a good sign, of course. He didn't buy his own plot of land yet, because his greenhouses would last a few more years, and he couldn't move them, so it would be a waste of capital to move to his own plot of land and leave his greenhouses behind. He did expand his farm, though, with strawberries, which were much more profitable than the tomatoes. And he finished the house that he started building in 2013. So lots of progress there.
And thanks to all our experience, we have learned to deal with almost every challenge.
Almost.
Almost. And as a result, we managed to show the positive story according to the feedback we get from our customers. And one of the things that makes this possible is the fact that everyone is always very helpful. And we love our work, and we want to achieve that the people we work with have a nice experience as well. So that at the end of the day when we leave, that the people say, okay, we enjoyed the visit of the Opmeers, and they were a little bit strange, those big men and white women from the Netherlands, but we enjoyed, and we have made beautiful photos, and in the end we hope also that that it will show in our photos and videos. And beautiful photos help to tell the stories. That's what we have learned in 10 years, is that all these stories can be viewed from many different angles. And usually there are two sides to a coin, or so often even more sides.
So a subject, for example, where you can tell so many stories about is gender equality. Because of its importance, we started our own gender equality project apart from our clients. But Oikocredit allowed us to combine our project with visiting the partners if the time and the circumstances allowed, of course. It makes a lot of sense, since microfinance is an important instrument in creating or improving equality between the sexes. So in not Ecuador, Nicaragua, we visited a cooperative which was all about women, all female members. And the day we visited, they had a capacitation building training, and we could interview a few women about their experiences. So we talked with, among others, with the woman with the purple vest. And she told us that when she got pregnant, she married and she dropped out of school because unfortunately the women get children on a very early age. After 12 years of marriage, she got a divorce, and the cooperative helped her to finish school and even finish high school. She loved the capacitation building training and said it was nice that they could get to work physically. And it annoyed her that there were women saying that it was a man's job and it was way too strenuous. But despite this initial reluctance of the other women, the group managed to build a working irrigation system, and Maribel was very proud of the end result. We also talked to the CEO, and he said that they are training the women on self-reliance while involving the whole family. Because if you neglect the men, providing credit will only increase domestic violence. The other side to that story is that the men also benefit from women empowerment. And fortunately, more and more they realize this. So in Brazil, we talked to this beautiful woman, Vania. She's the vice president of a coffee cooperative. again. And she confirmed that the men benefit and that they also realize this. And the president of the cooperative told us that previously women did not join because I'm sorry, I say this the wrong way. The women did not join because of the culture of the region, not because their husbands did not want them to. When the women joined, their husbands were very grateful that the women participated in the cooperative. Well, it's nice to hear the woman say that, but we also talk to our husband. That's not always possible, but in this case, we also could interview him a bit. And he told us that he's very proud of Vania and strongly believes that it's different when you enter into a dialogue and pursue the same goal.
Loan groups, that is also which you can see from two sides. This is a loan group in South Africa where we have spent 3 days with them. And the big advantage of group loans is that people without much capital, who have no collateral, can get a small loan in that way. And the majority of the group loan members are women. So that's a positive side of the group loan, but a more negative, but
No,
yeah, negative.
No.
But it's the other side is it looks nice. It is a romantic idea, the group loans, but at the end it's deadly serious, because if you cannot pay, then you have to explain to the whole group why not and how you are going to solve it the next time, because the rest of the group has to pay your share. And yeah, that's quite difficult if you have to explain that to the group. So strict rules are needed to ensure that everyone is and remains satisfied. And one rule, for example, is that the women who are late for the meeting, they need to pay a fine. And for them, it's a big fine. Yeah. Arnold, we met him in Tanzania. He was part of a loan group too. And he also experienced the downsides of group loans. Many times he had to pitch in for group members. But despite that, he fully agrees with the concept. And he told us, don't lighten the rules. People will run away with the money. And so I realized that a group loan is the only way to have a loan without collateral. And Arnold started his career himself as a teenager, about 14 or 15 years old. He was selling old bags on street corners in Dar es Salaam. And now he promoted steadily to owning shops. And when he finally became an individual member in 2009, he bought land with the money he loaned, and he had built a restaurant, lodges, houses and shops, and that he rents out, and he employs at the moment even more than 20 people, I think. Yeah. So he's very successful in this, and he started also in the loan group, and after promoted to an individual member.
Of course, not everyone's an entrepreneur like Arnold, and there are solutions for that as well, fortunately. So in Rwanda, a company built a tea factory. They process the tea and they offer a market to the farmers. Through the cooperatives in the region, the farmers receive training to improve the quality and quantity of their harvest. Oikocredit supports the tea company and the cooperatives. So the widow in the photo can focus on her crop, is gaining a better income, and is supported without being an entrepreneur herself. And that's actually the case with most of the cooperatives. So it's a very good example.
And after speaking to over 800 end clients of Oikocredit, you can fairly say that the dream almost all people have in common is education and a better future for their children. But I think that's even worldwide. Everybody wants to have that their children have a better future than the parents.
our own education after 10 years in the field is that we can conclude that we learn every day. And the more we learn, the more we realize that we know almost nothing. So thank you for your undivided attention. And well, if there's any questions, we are happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Wim, Pauline. Thanks. Really nice, really interesting. I think you made like a great job kind of summarizing so many years of work with Oikocredit. And it was also really nice and interesting to see the highs and the downs of the Oikocredit's work, because nowadays we really need good news with all the pandemic and all the situation, all the crisis that we're living. But it's always necessary to be aware of everything. So thank you very much. It was really nice to have you here. It was the pictures are wonderful. So congratulations for this great job. And we have like 10 minutes. So if anybody wants to ask something to Wim and Pauline, we also received a question from somebody who registered, and he was asking about the company which is called Ethic Hub in Mexico, and giving also financing to coffee farmers. And he was just wanted to ask you if you had gone through that region, through Mexico, and maybe explain a little bit of your experience in case you have visited Mexico. And if somebody else has questions, please write them down in the chat and we will read them to Wim and Pauline.
Okay, well we visited Mexico, but Mexico is quite big. So I'm not sure whether we visited, what was the name of the?
Ethic Hub.
Ethic Hub.
I
don't think we visited them. We have mainly worked in the south.
With the sombreros made, that was in Mexico?
That was Mexico. Yeah, so we visited mainly south of Mexico Ciudad.
Yeah.
And well, what's to say about
the food was great in Mexico.
Yeah, and there's a good spirit when it comes to entrepreneurship. So we had many female entrepreneurs there who were very assertive and very successful, I think, as well.
And also the honey, which
a honey cooperative with a very idealistic management.
Yeah.
So they also did a great job. So yeah, all in all, we could talk for hours about it, but but it was a very positive experience. Yeah.
Okay, we have another question saying, how often do you travel to take these pictures?
We have started in 2011. And since then, we have an average of about 2 months at home and 10 months away. And then we try to travel in one time. So we make a rough route, for example, in South America. And he says we're going to go first to Argentina, then Uruguay, Paraguay, etc. Then we ask our clients whether they have projects, and then we make a refined route and schedule, and then we combine all the assignments. And this way we can make a living if there's not too many obstacles, and we can also ask fair rates to our clients, and we don't need to fly that much, so it's much more sustainable than if we would go there, go back, go there, go back. So So all in all,
Twee
that's
jaar
the best
hiervoor,
way.
ja.
And Wim is usually making a planning 2 years
Yes.
ahead. He even does it now, but we are kind of, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see whether
But
it's
before the
realistic.
COVID period, I made a schedule for 2 years ahead, so that all our customers knows, okay, in 2021 they will be in Argentina or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anna is also asking if is it possible to see these pictures? They're so amazing. I guess the answer would be your social networks and
You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And
But the pictures we really make for the clients, we have a selection on our website. And yeah, Oikocredit uses them in all kinds of ways, of course. So that's another way.
I think 90 to 95% of all the photos Oikocredit is using are made by us. So if she follows Oikocredit.as, then she will see a lot of photos of us.
And in our Instagram account, we try, at this moment it's a bit difficult, but usually we try to also give some, well, behind the scenes kind of photos and all to show what we are doing. So it's a mix.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we have another question from Eloy. He's asking if do you report to Oikocredit if you notice wrong or unexpected practices?
Yeah, we always have an evaluation. That's usually when we get back because it's easier to, well, everybody's used to Zoom right now, but it's easier to talk with each other then. We don't have that many issues to report, so it's more that we talk about what we can improve in the workflow or things like that between Oiko and the partner and us. Then it's about whether we saw anything not being right. So fortunately, so yeah.
Okay, Anna was asking for your Instagram account. Is it?
Opmeer Reports. Everything we have is called Opmeer Reports. So, that's quite easy.
And Jorge from Oikocredit Euskadi, he was asked. He said he missed 10 minutes of your talk, and maybe he missed that. But he was asking, after 10 years of traveling and stories, do you feel more optimistic or hopeless about development?
No, we're quite optimistic because we do see progress, and I showed some photos in the beginning with the charcoal and all. So in the maybe in the macroeconomic or environmental aspects, it's not always so beautiful. But if we see how the people are developing, and especially if we are able to return and we see how they're doing and improving, that's quite, well, that's a very good thing. So we're optimistic about that.
Yeah, and
Yep.
what we also see is the result of the small loan to the end beneficiaries. So many women who started a small shop with a table and some vegetables, and what they show is that they are very proud that somebody is believing in them, that somebody is willing to a bank or a microfinance institute is willing to invest in them, to give them a loan, and then they can develop their dreams to become a successful small entrepreneurs. And that's the proud. That is what we like the most from all the end beneficiaries we have visited. That you can see, okay, there is future for them.
Yeah, and of course the future is also in what we said in the end, that they really invest in the education of the children. So it's not just the end beneficiary that it's benefiting, but we even in Uganda, we once visited this woman who just sold vegetables, and she wasn't the only one. There was a whole bunch of them. And we sometimes wonder, oh, I'm sorry. We sometimes wonder whether they can really make a living out of that. And then she told us that she sent her kids to a private school, which she had to pay for. Public school she doesn't, but she said, I want them to have the best education. So if women keep on doing these kind of things, then the next generation even has more opportunities. So that makes us optimistic as well.
Nice, encouraging words. And there was one more question from Pilar. She was asking if right now, can you go wherever with the pandemic and all these restrictions, or how is it affecting you? And because I heard that your plans were to travel tomorrow, or
No, not tomorrow.
No?
No. We have booked a flight on the 3rd of December to Namibia, because the car you saw in the photo is over there, and we need it to get to drive again. And then if everything works out, we can start working in South Africa, and then we're in Eastern Africa again. We did book a flight the 1st of December, but that was canceled after 3 hours. So whether we are able to really fly on the 3rd, that remains to be seen. But we'll try.
Yeah, and we think that we can do our normal work in Africa, and we are used now also in the Netherlands to have with photography and video the social distance of 1.5 meter, the mouth mask, etc. So we think we can do it over there, and what we have seen from other on Facebook, etc. Travelers, we think it's possible, but we will see, because when we are here, it's the end of our work now. Yeah, so we have to go.
This was our last assignment, this webinar. So we are kind of free to leave now, and are also eager to leave now. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I also was wondering, what do you do with the camper van? I mean, you leave it there in one continent, then you make it go somehow to another continent?
Yeah, or nice if it would be that easy somehow. No, we usually travel from in Africa, and then we ship it to Latin America.
From Cape Town of South Africa to
Montevideo in Uruguay.
Then
we travel north. Then we did ship it twice from New York back to Africa. And in between, we work in Asia. So we always call those our in-between years. So then we use planes and taxis, etc. And the shipping takes about
2 months, 3 months,
something. So so we need to leave it at some. There are some places where you can safely leave your vehicle, and it's guarded, and this time it's even under a roof. But of course, we didn't plan to leave it there for a year, which it has been now. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And do you sleep in some specific places, or you just stop and spend the night in the middle of the Andes? Or
no, we are very cautious. So we always said, if one of us doesn't feel comfortable with the spot, then we don't stay there. It's usually Wim, because he keeps awake and I fall asleep. so that makes sense. And so especially in Africa, we almost always stay in campgrounds, and many countries have a very good infrastructure for that. And there's also, of course, lots of information now digitally. So there's this beautiful app. It's called iOverlander, and we can just look at the map and see where people stayed before and what their experiences were. So that also takes us to, like we say, wild sites. In Latin America, it's a bit easier.
And because of the camper, it's also easy to park your car and sleep somewhere. So a lot of times we also spend the night at the factory of the coffee farmer,
at the
plant of the cooperatives. So we arrive at the end of the day and say, here we are, can we stay here? And in the morning we are already at the place. So that's nice. Yeah.
We had some very nice experiences with that as well. That the people of the plant, they organized a barbecue. That was in Latin America, of course. And so very useful.
Or we had to move our car because we were in the middle on the volleyball field. And it was Friday night, and they say, "Oh, we always play volleyball. Please, can you move your car?"
And the staff. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
That's an interesting experience. Well, we had no more questions, and it's already 8. So thank you very much for your presentation, for your work. We hope to keep on seeing a lot of pictures. And next year, we're going to celebrate some more, hopefully, and maybe physically, the 45th anniversary of Oikocredit International and the 20th of Oikocredit Catalunya. And I don't know, maybe we might see you there too in our anniversary birthday party. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending this webinar. And you can follow us on the social network. You have the links there in the chat, and also you can register for our newsletter. And we hope to see you soon in some of our events, and hopefully physically. Thank you very much. Stay well and see you soon. Bye.